In accordance with the state's open meeting law and federal wiretapping laws, we wish all who attend to know that this meeting is being taped by the Cable Access Group, members of the press, and from time to time, members of the public. Minutes.
Subject to two tiny nits, I move that the minutes be.
Yeah, he already shared his.
Oh, he already did? Oh,
One
okay.
spelling error and one comma.
Okay.
I
Okay.
already got that out.
I didn't see anything. And then Laura, did you have?
No, I looked it over.
Okay.
Steve's on your true edits. so.
Yeah. All right.
I move to approve with small edits, the,
I've already made the motion.
oh,
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. The minutes are approved as amended.
Oh, do we need to note that John is voting member today?
Yes, you have to
Oh,
sit, John.
yes, that would be the very next thing. So we move John up to be a voting member today, given the absence of some other members.
It's actually the thing that comes before voting on the minutes, otherwise the three of you can't
Oh,
vote
yeah,
on the
that's
minutes.
true.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So the
So now
minute-
let's
let-
retake the vote on
So-
the
I move
minutes.
that we-
Sorry.
I move that we approve the minutes, subject to the two minor nits I've already discussed with John.
I'll second.
All in
Oh, you
favor?
can't second.
I
I'll
can?
second.
You can second. Okay.
Oh,
No, you
yeah,
can
see,
second.
you can second,
yeah.
of course,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, all in
We
favor?
already did the
Aye.
other. Aye.
Okay.
All right,
Now the
thanks.
minutes are officially approved. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's why you're here, Tim. There is no public for commentary. All right, that moves us right to DPW. Rich, if you could.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Anyway, change this to a winter scene, huh?
No, I like fall. It's the one that came with it.
Oh, really?
Haven't changed it since in 4 years.
I know, it's obsolete, almost. It's funny how quickly technology, I mean, you go and upgrade the thing to
And
the
it's-
latest operating system, and it takes up all the memory on it.
It's cracked here and it's smashed here.
I gotta get these fancy covers for them, you know?
Good morning, Steve.
I put the, this is a military grade glass.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning,
Never
Steve.
break.
So you can take a
Okay,
hammer
so
and go.
John, now you know.
I don't know,
Voting
that's what they say.
member.
I wouldn't want to try it.
That's good.
Do we have responses from?
Not that I saw.
But when I did, I got
I
one
just
of
wanted to
these
make sure if
for,
I was missing,
From what?
because we
Morning,
had,
Steve.
we had 3 questions for DPW that I'm
No,
not,
we had more.
Only 3?
We vetted by
You were-
DPW. I think vetted by FinCom,
For the-
remember?
yeah.
I think we just
You've got the,
disempowered John.
you got the responses before
Yeah, we did.
Christmas.
Yeah, but I was trying to find
And
them.
there are more than,
Here,
How come
give
I
me
couldn't-
yours.
How come I couldn't find
was
them?
looking for 'em
I was
yesterday,
looking
too.
for them and I couldn't find them.
Lorraine brought them to your the meeting I wasn't at. Lorraine brought them because that's when you had the questions for him, and they were supposed to be in by the next meeting.
Right, and, yeah, and I distributed them. Does anybody have them? Sorry. Because I put them in.
Get it.
Yeah, I couldn't find, because I put all the answers by every section. Sorry about this. We,
Stubborn.
There's not only 3, there's 13.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions.
Boy, I spent so much time on them, and
Well,
I figured
Rich,
they'd be
'cause you know
so...
what we did, we got all the responses back, and we put them in each category, like for each department, and I didn't have them, and I thought it was my mistake. But it sounds like somehow or other they were omitted from the stack. But don't worry, we'll go through them.
we got the narrative,
Yes, I have the narrative, I have the questions,
and I resubmitted these.
and I don't have the answers. All right, so.
I have your answers from 2012.
Yeah, I always do the answers in red.
Yeah,
That's how I could
exactly.
tell.
It's 2012.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
but you're not gonna see him in red because he doesn't have color upstairs, so
Okay.
hopefully you can tell the difference with the answer and the question.
Yeah, I'm just double checking, 'cause I'm. Did you get your new person?
We did.
Okay.
He's gonna be starting this coming week.
Excellent,
Yeah, we need him.
yeah.
The snow is held off for us, so.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Just
we
for you.
lost one of our guys for the winter. He went and broke his ankle.
The nerve,
Huh?
the nerve of it.
I know. And
He's
it was
nice.
3 days before the first storm of the year. And that's what happens when it's 70 degrees Christmas weekend. He goes out in his motorbike and
Oh, gosh, yeah.
broke his ankle.
Wow,
Boy, oh boy. And this is the guy that's like the most enthusiastic with plowing in the whole group. I mean, he's doing the snow dance every day. He just loves the snow. So the other guys are all out and saying, oh, there's no overtime this year. I said, well, that's because Nick isn't here to do the snow dance.
So he's out for like 2 months or so?
I think it was a series. He had to have 3 pins or screws or something. Pretty serious operation. So it might be closer to the 12 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know. 8 to 12, they said, but.
What?
Talking about Nick.
Oh, thought you, 8 to 12, I thought you were talking inches. I'm like, what?
I would not be smiling if it was 8 to 12 inches, trust me.
His answers are directly after the question. His is in red, so you're not going to make... After the question mark, you'll see his answer.
Great.
Oh, this is a lot of it.
Yeah, none of us had these, so I think somehow they just got omitted.
Oh, I'll talk to her Monday. Looks like I'll have to show up to every one of these. So,
There was that article in the press, the editorial saying, if we just read these things.
Well, I'm just going to
without-
run through
Yeah.
from the top. So the first question, let's just, rather than reading it and then asking
Yeah,
everything, let's just go through
read
it.
and
So
talk
the
about
first question is on the catch basin analysis, which is excellent, by the way, and we really appreciate that because it's great to have a really good analysis so we can assess whether to do the buy or build. And this was a slam dunk. So the other question, which you say here, could we eliminate the $15,000 seasonal worker? Because now you're going to have more time in your staff.
Well, it was, honestly, we lost an employee back in FY '08 that's never been restored. And the catch basin cleaning was one of these items that hasn't gotten the attention it's needed. I mean, we've gone out and done spot cleanups, cleanings, but we really need to establish an annual program. So I guess the long and the short of it is, we still need a guy. Even though we're not doing this in-house, we haven't been doing that much of it in-house. So I still need that person.
Well, but I guess our thought process was, you've been doing some of the catch basin work in-house. So you've had some of your people doing that
It's one person,
work,
yes.
one person. And now that you do not need that one person, we put the catch basin work in place. Now that one person, the amount of time that they've been spending is freed up, which adds a chunk of time.
Right.
Is it still necessary to hire another $15,000 person? Because you've gained some time out of that one person.
You have, but it's very minimal what you're gaining, because if you went out a couple of weeks a year, it was a lot. Only because, like I said, we were so limited by having our staff reduced. See, now, if we regain that position, okay, I could say, take away the seasonal guy.
So you weren't even doing 1/3 of the
Yeah.
catch basins in town?
No, no,
Oh, because you
no.
told us you were doing 1/3, so that's why we
Well-
thought it was a reasonable chunk of time spent on it.
Did I say 1/3?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah.
Okay, well, if I said 1/3, it might have been a little bit of a stretch, to be quite honest with you. But, you know, whether it's 25% or 33%, the bottom line is, it should be 100%. You know, so, I mean, sure, if you wanna say, you know, yeah, you know,
But I guess if
2 or
you've
3
been-
weeks of one guy, you know, you could take it off to 15,000. I mean, if that's what
So
you're
that's been your
suggesting.
level of attention to catch basins for the last 7 years then?
Right.
So why do they need to get cleaned more frequently than that?
Because they were all getting clogged up.
Okay.
It get worse and worse every year, all the sand we put down.
So it could be
Yeah.
some
So
developing
every basin,
problem. It could be a-
oh yeah, every basin that doesn't get done, after a period of time, every basin takes in different amount of sand, depending on whether in the hill or anything else, but after a period of time, when a catch basin gets full to a certain point, it starts clogging up the pipes. So, I mean, it's very important that you clean them
Yeah, because then you have a bigger problem,
right.
because it's in the
Much
pipes.
bigger problem.
Yeah.
So that's
And
similar
that's
to
one
what,
of the problems, you know, one of the things I want to do this coming year is the drainage system on Ayer Road hasn't been touched in 25 years. And a lot of the inlet structures are totally buried by sand, you can't even see them. You know, so, I mean, this is just one of the things, if I have another person, I can actually start doing some exploratory work, get some cameras in and start checking to see where those basins are, because we don't even know where they are. to be
Well,
quite
that was
honest
my
with you.
other question. Do we have a map of the basins?
No.
And will the outside service do that? That was one thing we were hoping.
One of the things we're gonna do. Oh, you're talking, no. Most of them on most of the roads, we know where they are.
Okay.
The ones on Ayer Road, only because of the traffic and everything else, it's very difficult to work on Ayer Road. So they've just never been
tended to.
addressed.
Okay, so you know where they are, and...
Well, I don't know where they are on Ayer Road. On every other road, I do.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, and so how many catch basins are we, that are known, that you know, I mean, how many are there? Are 100, 200 throughout the town? Is it only downtown, or
If
we
I was
have
to
them-
make a wild guess, I was thinking 600, 700, but I don't know. I mean, this is one of the things, we really have to start inventorying and cataloging all our infrastructure. You know, I put in an article in this year to start with our water and sewer system, to start, you know, cataloging
GIS.
and dealing a GIS system so that we can locate where all our water gates are and with the water system and also the sewer system. But you can build on that to other pieces of the infrastructure once you get that in place, because you'll have your base map in place. So now you just add another overlay. But once again, you know, it's a process. You really need to inventory what you have.
Yeah, and that's what we were expecting to happen once it's outsourced, the inventory gets in place.
You know, other than, you know, there's 20 on this road and 15 on that road, that's the best it's gonna do for you. You know, because he's not gonna go and measure where it is and where the pipes come in and out of it.
Right, but at least they'll know.
How many there are.
How many there are.
Yes.
And someone could actually take a map and start Xing on the road, approximates.
The right way, yeah, approximates are one thing, but what you really need to do is GPS locating, okay? You've actually got to get a coordinate on the location of each one, so you actually know where they all are, and then you can start taking and putting lines between them and actually know what you have in place, because we just don't know right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I mean, we know where most of the basins are, we don't know where the pipes come and go and anything else. So, I mean, for us, every time there's a drainage issue, we have to go out and
Try and
kinda
figure out where it is.
Try to figure out how it's working. You know, in some cases, it's relatively easy, but others, it's not quite so easy.
But you always know when there's a problem, and you always go out, empty the catch basin, fix it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
How many problems through these, say in the past 10 years, have there been where the catch basins are filled?
I don't know if I could give you a number on that, but it happens on a regular basis.
50, 20, 10?
I don't know. I really couldn't tell you.
In the past year? Once?
It was kind of a drought,
Twice?
it was kind of a drought
It
year.
was a dry year.
You know, so you usually see these, like last winter, we saw that Air Road was a serious problem because there was water spilling out on the roadway and freezing up all winter long because the drainage system hasn't been maintained. So, I mean, we've done that on many, many roads in town where the drainage ditches on the side of the roads have all filled in with sand over the years. And we've had to dig them out so the water doesn't spill into the road and ice up in the wintertime. It's reduced a lot of overtime because these guys in the wintertime would come in almost every night and have to re-sand every one of those roads where the water just won't stop coming out to the road because the drainage system hasn't been maintained.
Okay, so back to this request, in terms of our question on the heavy brush and branches, because you've had extra money a couple of times to help with that issue on the roads, cutting back the heavy roads, or at least one other time. I believe it was 2 fiscal years back, gave you an extra seasonal worker for that. What's the progress on that? How much of the town percentage-wise? And what would you expect this person, because when we first said, okay, a seasonal worker, you said that would get you back on track, and then it didn't get you back on track because you're asking for another seasonal worker. So how far on track are we?
Well, you know, it seems like we're always working to get ourselves ahead of things, and it never works that way. And there's a lot of reasons. You know, you get unexpected weather events, you get people that are out. Like, for example, we lost a guy all last year. He wasn't in all last year, so we were running one man short last year. So, you know, when you have that extra guy, it gives you some flexibility to keep programs going instead of shutting them down and just ignoring it for the year because you've lost a guy. I mean, last year, like I said, we lost a guy for, I think it was 4 months. And this year...
It was 4 months.
It was 4 months, and it was right in the middle of the summer, so I mean...
And then the year before that, you lost Bobby Sozik
and one other guy.
and one other guy.
So, I mean, it seems like every year we have someone on long-term leave for whatever reason. But, and like I said, right now, we have another guy out, broke his leg. So, you know, I know, you know, seasonal worker might sound like it's a lot of money, but, you know, it's a non-benefited position. It really comes in handy when you're in that situation where you lose someone. You don't have to, like, shut down one of your maintenance operations because you just don't have enough people to get them all done, and you have to start prioritizing.
So with less folks, you have more overtime, right? I mean, of course.
No, I don't. No, we never operate on overtime for maintenance. I mean, if we had a capital project we were doing and it was advantageous for us to work a little overtime to button something up because it would cost us a lot more to open it all up the next day, we'll keep the guys on for an hour or two. But other than that, we don't do any overtime for maintenance.
That's good. Glad for the clarity, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seemed a logical next step, but I'm
Right.
glad you clarified.
Right.
What about part-time hires? I'm thinking of other people who have this coverage problem, and they've gone to some part-time positions. I'm just wondering if this seems, that's 3 years running, you've had folks out.
Well, part-time isn't, I mean, part-time works great for manning the transfer station because it's truly a part-time operation, you know, 13 hours a week. They have a specific function. But it seems as though, like in the wintertime, you really don't need anybody because, I mean, I'm not going to say all we do is plow, but a lot of it is preparation for plow, maintaining equipment, going out there and doing a little, you know, whatever. If branches are down on a road, we'll go pick those up. It's not like a full-blown maintenance operation that time of year. So seasonal makes all the sense because most of our work gets done in the spring,
Yeah.
summer, and fall.
That does make sense. Yeah.
When somebody is out for an extended period, you mentioned somebody being out for a year and somebody being out for 4 months and that sort of thing. To what extent are we continuing to pay them out of the budget?
They are paid out of the budget right through to whatever PTO time they have. And once that's done, then they are either on unpaid status
Okay, so basically, these long-term outages then do have a result of producing a degree of surplus at the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we haven't ever, all right, last question on this one, and then we'll, I think, move on, but when we were talking about the catch basin cleaning, since they haven't been done in so many years, when you have this group coming in, over time, would they be able to say, okay, you know what, these 200 don't need to be cleaned every year? You know, it'll take a while to get to that point, but there's probably some that don't need to be cleaned every year, and then there's some that do need to be cleaned every year, so that theoretically could lower the costs of that service.
You know, it might be useful for me to pass this out. This money, if it gets approved, would get lumped into what we call Public Works Professional Services. And that's the line item. And there's a lot of items that, you know, you might not be aware of, but I think it would be kind of an education for everybody to recognize that even though one item might be less this given year, other ones are more. So it's kind of a balancing act on what you, let's just use an example, street sweeping, okay? Street sweeping, the amount of time necessary to do street sweeping varies from year to year, and a lot of it depends on the type of the severity of the winter. If it's a severe winter, there's a ton of sand put down on those roads. It takes a lot longer, and it costs more money. The bottom line is this particular line item has got a certain amount in it, so I have to balance getting all these things done, use my, professional management skills and say, okay, well, I have to prioritize, sweeping, so I might back off on catch basin cleaning, or this year I gotta do catch basin cleaning, do less street sweeping. But the bottom line is, in the end, I have to somehow make this line item work. And sure, you could say, oh, let's only do half the catch basins a year. From my point of view, it's reducing my operation. I mean, best management practices that are established in the industry is you clean them all every year. You don't just, some of them you clean twice because they're in particularly bad spots. I mean, on the hills, there could be an argument made to have them done twice a year. If you get gully washes, they fill right up with dirt, and the ones in the bottom of the hills. It's good management practices to do them all every year. But if I found that the other items were going over, I could just say, hey, do the ones on the hills this year. Because street sweeping took 2 or 3 extra weeks than we anticipated. Beaver control is another one. If I had a really bad season with street sweeping and catch basin cleaning, I might tell the guy who traps our beavers, just don't have any money this year. Or I'll tell him, you can only trap up to 15. Once you hit 15, you're done. But, we have beaver problems all over town. So, these are the kind of decisions I have to make to stay within a budget.
Yeah.
I could very well say, go get 30 of them, because guess what? There's 7 locations in town that we're chasing every week, because every time we clean it, they clog it up again. You gotta get those guys out of there. So, you have to it's a balancing act.
Never thought we'd be talking about beavers.
Okay. Well, so that
I'm
makes sense, and looking at your actuals that you spent from FY15, it was 30, and then if you add, well, it was 29, and if you add the 13, that would, that brings it well in line. It's
What page are you
42
looking at?
on the budget, the highway construction and maintenance. So it's,
I'm missing
it does make sense.
I'm missing a page. I have,
Are there any other questions on that?
yeah. What is Conservation Commission materials? That's a new one from 2012. And you forgot pavement marking, that was on the 2012 list.
Well, pavement markers is a separate line item for it.
Ah, okay, that's good to know. Painting lines.
Yeah.
I'm missing that page. Okay.
It was in the book.
No, I just missed one page,
Oh.
that's all.
So the question was,
Conservation Commission materials.
right, there are, I can't say it's kind of as needed kind of basis. I'm asked to do things like
Signage?
clear trees, do signage, for example, or, mow a particular field that hasn't been mowed before. I know the demands are going to get greater and greater because they're bringing on more and more land. I mean, I know last week they asked us to go up and put some no trespassing signs on a piece of property they had just bought up on Shaker Road. There's 3 buildings in there that are dilapidated. We just took ownership of them, and I know they're going to have to get demoed next year, and I know we're the ones that are probably going to have to do it. You know what I mean? So I've got to balance these kind of things. I mean, I guess back years ago, they had their own budget, and then it was all wrapped into DPW. So they keep reminding me that, I said, there's no line item for conservation. There's, no. We got it right here saying it's in your budget. So I lump it into
I wondered
professional
about-
services.
I wondered about that. Thank you for the clarification there. So it sounds like you have a lot of work to do. You may be down a couple people.
Well, that's sporadic, it's not, that just is what it is, it's a sporadic outage.
Well, unfortunately, it's less sporadic and more of a trend, or,
Well, and I think what's important is many, if not most, if not all, other cuts back in FY '08 when times were tough have been restored, and our man's never been restored. Nor have I asked for him to be restored.
Yeah, yep,
So I'm just pointing out that, I do have to have a staff to get this work done.
or else you have to outsource it. Yeah, that
Or it
makes-
doesn't
makes
get done.
Right.
And, it's a shame if it doesn't, because it ends up costing more money in the end if you
Yeah.
have to start replacing drainage systems because you just kind of clog them.
Right.
You haven't been
Right.
maintaining them,
Right. Okay, why don't we move on? Number 2, the personnel line item didn't match, and Lorraine
Fixed it,
fixed it.
right.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I think that was
Right.
just a,
Was your number correct, or was hers?
Mine.
Yours?
But I don't want her job.
Well, if yours is correct, compliments on basically holding personnel constant year to year. It's a function of replacing some senior people with new people, right?
Correct.
yeah. But still, that's good, because sometimes in other areas of the town budget, senior people are
Right.
replaced, and that doesn't happen, so that's great.
Good.
Okay, 3, why is there no longer a request for the Harvard Park groundwater monitoring?
Well, as I said here, last year, we filed an abatement measure completion report. This is back when they built Harvard Park, McCurdy Field. I guess there was a hazardous waste site next door. I guess it was an
It was in
old
the
oil.
It was in the driveway,
Okay,
under the driveway. When we dug it up, we found all this stuff.
right. So we had to put in a treatment plant over there and monitor it. Well, over the many years of monitoring, we never found anything in that groundwater. So we had our consultant issue a final completion report to DEP. I called him and asked him, did we ever hear back? And his response to me was, they never write back.
Oh, okay.
So they never tell you it's over. They probably will never bother you again.
Okay.
But, just when you think you're out, they drag you back in again.
But
What
for
can
now,
I
we can
say?
assume that project's done, and you don't.
That's
you don't-
why I've
Okay.
taken it out of the budget.
Okay, number 4, the building maintenance budget, the 8,600, could
Right.
it be merged with the selectmen's proposed?
I tell you, in my estimation, I don't know how this is all gonna come down in the end, because I know you're working on maybe creating a position to.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's gonna be run through my department or Tim or what, but I need access to that money to make sure that things like garage doors and things like that get fixed. I can't just
You can't wait a few
I
weeks.
can't wait for somebody to go through a process and say, okay, well, let me check if there's money in the
Yeah,
account
yeah.
or whatever, you know what I mean? So if the money's being managed by me in that account, I can certainly do that.
Yeah.
But if it's not, I need to understand how the process is gonna work.
Exactly, and right now, the process isn't quite in place yet. and-
Right.
And so, ideally, what we would like to see is that every single bit of building maintenance that is buried in a bunch of little budgets is all pulled together
Sure.
and managed centrally
Sure.
with that person. I mean,
Sure.
that would be the ideal, and then we add however much is needed so that there's better maintenance.
Correct.
Of all the budgets. But we hear you also, and we have to make sure that everything is in place so that people can have access very quickly.
Correct.
To needed repairs, okay? Number 5, this was just a question on moving, and we've talked about this before, and this is really more for us than for you, because we know you sort of manage the whole line item. When we were looking at the vehicle maintenance, the building maintenance, the actuals versus what was budgeted was getting more and more skewed, and it's a zero, it's a net zero at the bottom of the budget. It's just putting the request closer to the actuals so that it's easier for us to look at and say, is this going according to plan? Because what you've got, the building maintenance, you've been spending around $19,000. This is
Lot more than the budget.
exactly, and the budget is only $8,600. And the reverse is true on, there's about $8,000 more on you've been spending less. So we just want to take the $8,000, put it up into the budget, so you actually have $16,600 in your building maintenance, and drop the vehicle maintenance down to $40,000, so it more closely reflects actuals. It does absolutely nothing to what you're doing. You can continue to manage it exactly as the way you've managed it. It just makes it much more close to the actuals.
Okay, I understand the theory. You're trying to simplify perhaps the budget line items, but from my perspective, it's very important for me to know what the trend is on maintenance of buildings, okay, and the trends on equipment maintenance, because that's how I make my decisions on budgeting every year. If it all gets lumped together.
Oh, no, we're not asking for it to be lumped together. All we're asking is for, right now, if you look at your building maintenance, your trend over time, 19,000, 19,000, 19,000. The request is 8,600, okay? That does not make sense. Then you look at the vehicle maintenance, your trends over time have gone down, 40,000, 39, 34, and your request is for 48. So all we want to do is to make the building maintenance request 16,600 and make the vehicle maintenance request 40,000. It more closely it does not change the total dollar.
Oh, I see.
It just
You're
literally
okay,
reclassifies some of it.
So it's just distributing the money differently.
Exactly. Just to reflect those trends, those historical trends you're talking about. That's all.
That's fine in the budget, but when you go to town meeting, it's just one expense line.
Yeah, this is, and I said, this is literally just for us, because we see these, and it just,
And that's why it's like, I know you see it, and it's the number we work off of, and I don't think, I don't know, I just feel uncomfortable,
if you're going off of historical trends, like you just said, then your building maintenance line, you should be asking for 19,000, because that's your historical trend.
I know what you're saying. Vehicle maintenance, I'll be honest with you, this vehicle maintenance number is not, it's not what it appears to be, and I'll tell you why. It's, vehicle maintenance is not a true vehicle maintenance number, meaning that's not the entire cost of vehicle maintenance. Vehicle maintenance also is included in snow and ice repairs and maintenance. And that number can change dramatically from year to year, too, especially if we have a bad winter, because all the major breakdowns might end up in the snow and ice repairs and maintenance, and it won't be reflected on here. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we really want to know what vehicle maintenance is worth, you might want to also consider that other line item. And you won't find that there's the discrepancy to be as great as it is. Once again, I bottom line budget here. So how the numbers fall on each particular line item sometimes doesn't really reflect my needs. There's just unfortunately greater needs that have to get spent in any given year that I might have the next year still have to pay for what I have to pay for in that line item. Listen, I don't have a problem with what you're saying, it's just that I don't think it really and truly reflects, okay, what our goal should be. Okay, our goal really would be nice if we could get down to building maintenance, okay, $8,400, $8,600. That would be a great goal. But it's also tells you that the building is actually costing you more money than it should.
Right, right. But the thing is, and especially given our last conversation
Yeah.
on funds for building maintenance, we would like the actual line item in the budget to reflect, in the request, to reflect much more of what the actuals are. And at this point, those actuals are far closer to 19,000 than to 8,600. So we would respectfully ask that we can take 8,000 out of that vehicle maintenance, which still gives you, you haven't, at least on paper, have not spent more than 35,000, in several years. And that would cover your actuals for 13, 14, 15. You never went over 40,000. So all we're asking is to put it at 40,000 and put the 8,000 up into the building maintenance to more accurately reflect what's going on in that building maintenance part,
Well,
because
on it-
that's what we're trying to get to.
Honestly, if that's what your goal is, I don't know if vehicle maintenance is the one that you should be using to better reflect vehicle maintenance you should use for building maintenance. I think you should take 10,000 out of your road maintenance materials and put that up there.
Okay,
Because I think
Okay.
that's more
Okay.
representative of the, where the money's getting distributed. Because vehicle maintenance, this is an artificially low number, and
Okay.
I think it's just,
Okay, so what we're suggesting here then is to add 10,000 to building maintenance and take 10,000 out of
road maintenance.
correct.
Okay, so road
You
maintenance
go with that.
request would now be 33,000, and then the building maintenance would be the 18,600. That's, everyone, is that, yep, that's great, thank you. Okay. Question number 6, can we further reduce the construction debris line item, which is currently at, oh wait, what is the current level? It's on a different sheet. Anyway, can we reduce it to 12,000 to reflect the actual spend? Here we go. The construction debris. Over FY 13, 14, and 15, it's been running anywhere between 9,500 and 11,000. And your request is for 16,000. And so the question is, can that request be reduced to 12,000? Because that covers how much you've actually been spending.
Well, so you're going to move that 4,000 to another line item? Or you want to reduce the entire budget
It
down
was
4,000?
just, it was just a question,
Oh.
and, I mean, that's all it is, it's a question.
Well, if it's a question, is this like a question similar to the one you just gave me on the other,
This
where
one
you
there was
wanted to
not-
swap it from one to
Yeah.
another?
There was not a trade-off on this
Okay.
one, so I guess that would be a, can it be reduced?
No, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. 2 years ago, in 14, you spent $167,437. I know you had a down year in 15, and there's a number of reasons how that could happen. Might have been building repairs or whatever.
Oh, he's looking at
Oh,
bottom
at the
line.
bottom
So,
line,
so
okay.
when you, that's literally how you gauge it on the waste collection and disposal. You're looking at the absolute total, the absolute
Well,
bottom.
as a manager, I bottom line manage my budget. I mean, that's what you're paying me to do.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
paying me to make sure that I best utilize the money you give me. And to say that the budget is budgeted 4,000 higher than what I need, I'm not comfortable agreeing to that.
Okay.
If you're suggesting that line item has been running less than what I've asked for, you're 100% right. But, once again, the numbers within that particular bottom line number change from year to year, based on needs.
So it sounds to me that these internal sub-accounts are pretty much meaningless as into how you manage your budgets?
No,
You move them back and forth kind of at will, or?
they're very important, because it allows me to track costs from year to year, so it's a very
But you have a
important.
historical tracking of costs that they have by these accounts, or the money. they spend,
Correct.
right?
No, but it's very important for me to know trends and to know where the money's getting spent, okay, from any given year to the next. Bottom line, it always comes out. I mean, believe me, if I had the optimal budget number, it would be much higher than what it is. I manage with what I have, and I prioritize what I feel is most important to be spent, okay, to get the job done every year. And if it's more in this one line item one year and less in this one, that's so be it. It's just what has to be done. Whatever it takes not to have to come back to you folks and say, I need more money,
Yeah.
okay?
yeah.
And I've had a good track record of that in 10 years. I mean, other than snow, I don't think I've had it come here before. And that's because I manage the numbers I have.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
For example, I don't go and, something I know I have some flexibility on, I won't make that purchase until late in the year to make sure I got the money, okay? That something else didn't come up that I didn't anticipate. So I don't go and spend all my money in the first 3 months of the year. I make most of my purchase the last 3 months of the year, okay? The ones that I have flexibility on, because I don't want to get cut short at the end of the year. All right, so.
Okay.
So anyways, I wouldn't recommend cutting the transfer station budget. Now, actually, I kind of looked at that question, and I kind of looked back and said, let me just look to see if we're still covering our costs. I mean, our revenue from the transfer station has stayed pretty steady over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, I show anywhere from $240,000 to $233,000 being collected in revenue for the transfer station. I mean, I don't think the transfer station is supposed to be a money-making, it's supposed to be kind of a break-even kind of operation. I mean, we're collecting it from the residents up and above their taxes, so, the fact is, what I'm asking for is, the basic direct costs are far less than what we're receiving. Clearly, if you factor in my salary, okay, and the salary of folks up here at Town Hall that sell the stickers and all that, it probably comes closer to that 233, okay? But bottom line is, we're collecting more than we're spending. And that's not to suggest that saving a couple thousand here and there isn't important, but the bottom line is, it's not like it's costing us up and above what we're collecting in revenue to run the place.
Rich, have you looked into this pay-as-you-throw program?
Yes.
Are we gonna do it?
Uh,
Study it some more?
My recommendation up till now has been no. I actually have a lengthy answer to one of those questions, that question in particular. Number 12, I think is what you would, actually had that as a question. And, I've talked to it with a number of people, selectmen, others in the past 5 years, and after thoroughly considering it, it was always our conclusion that the negatives outweigh the positives. I mean, the bottom line is, you're not going to save, the town isn't going to save anything on the budget. Okay, so it's not like it's going to free up money for something else in town. Let's just talk about it, okay? The positives, you're going to increase your recycling rates, okay? The negatives, it's cost neutral. It won't show any savings on the town budget, because you're going to restructure your entire fee structure. So your revenues and your expenses, whatever they might be, are going to go down, or They'll probably go down, there'll be more recycling, so they'll go down. Inconvenience. I mean, I know from my perspective, if I had to make sure I had a closet full of bags, okay, so that I don't run short this week, and make sure I don't forget them when I go to the grocery store every week or every month or whenever you buy them. It's an inconvenience, there's no question about it.
There's something you didn't mention here.
Okay.
That is that right now, you have on the transfer station a very significant discount for seniors.
You should do.
If you go to this system here, I think it would be unwise to have a special purchase price for bags for seniors. It will encourage a kind of abuse there. Should I buy some bags for my daughter, sort of thing.
Yep.
Which is a very bad idea, I think.
Yep.
And the alternative is that we would be taking a decision which would, whether wise or not, constitute a reduction of a benefit you're currently giving seniors, which is easily administrable under the present system.
Good point.
All right.
The stickers, it's not a big deal, but I'm simply pointing out that one of the side effects of this would be to eliminate a certain discount that's given to seniors.
But there's an argument to be made that a senior of 1 or 2 is different than a family of 4, 5, or 6. And a bag would be more equitable over the course of the year, 1 bag versus 4.
They generate so much less.
Exactly. That's
Okay,
the
well-
argument against that idea, or the matching argument of savings.
I'm not taking a position on whether we should or should not eliminate a break for seniors. I'm simply pointing out that this change, if it were to occur, would have that effect.
It would be an effect that might be balanced by a pay-as-you-throw. You're explaining one effect, but I'm saying the other also has a return effect.
Okay, well, we don't need to
No.
go through that whole, those are good points, all of them. All right. Number 7. The breakdowns, the maintenance, stoppages. I know the electricity has gone off and on a couple times. It has nothing to do with your,
Our equipment's been very reliable. We do a good job maintaining it. There's been a problem identified that National Grid is working on. Right now, they've actually, this is news Tim hasn't heard either, I've actually had the job designed. They're ready to go to put new transformers up in the pole. However, I now have the obstacle of getting New England Telephone to put a new pole in.
Verizon.
Oh, yes, New England Telephone. Sorry, I live in the
You
old
have been
days.
around for a while, huh? You were in the telephone
sorry.
and telegraph.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I used to work for them. But anyways, so right now, as soon as we get a new pole put in, we'll get National Grid out there and get a new system up in the pole.
Well, that's the kind of thing that people don't know about. They just know about the stoppages. So,
Right.
good fix, good catch.
all right, number 8. Have you researched the disposal of glass, and are there options on what to do with glass disposal?
And that also feeds that glut of product that you
Sure.
just mentioned in the prior one.
Sure. Back when we changed the transfer station operation, I don't know if you all remember, but we used to separate our paper into cardboard and office paper and all that. We got out of the baling business, that we were making bales and storing bales and selling bales. We got out of that business and we commingled all our paper. At that time, we entered into an agreement with a recycling company who, in exchange for taking our glass, taking our commingles, which is plastic and cans, they would take our paper, gave us 2 compactors free of charge, and took care of everything free of charge. So we didn't have to pay anything for the glass and plastic and the paper. They actually gave us a little money when the cost of paper went up over a certain number. So it was slightly revenue neutral. Since that time, recycling products, the value of recycling products has gone way down. And glass now is a huge liability, it's a cost item. Plastic, likewise, the markets have dried up for plastic also. Still a market for paper, but it's certainly not what it used to be. The bottom line here is, we're having trouble getting our vendor to take glass because she had nowhere to put it. Her yard was full of glass, and all her customers, the ones that were taking the glass, didn't want it. Okay, so she had a real problem finding a place to put the glass. After much pushing her, I just had no choice, because I was obviously getting a lot of pressure from the public. That the glass is full, why aren't they dumping it? I couldn't get her to dump it, so I went and had it taken down to a company down in Franklin. It's a national company, and they take glass. And what I found out was the glass is going to cost us to dispose of. However, if we change the method of handling the glass, she tells me that they tell me down there, brown glass has got a value to it, but it's got to be clean.
Brown and green?
Just
Brown?
Just brown. There's a market for amber. There's no market for green or clear.
Oh my gosh.
Which is totally different than what we were doing before.
Yeah.
Before, we were doing colored and clear.
Right.
So the education process on that is difficult, and if you don't give them a clean product, they're not gonna pay you, they'll charge you, because it's no
Right,
value to them.
right.
So these are the kind of issues that I'm dealing with. How do you,
Cardboard signs.
Well, and a big chunk of that brown glass, we take over to the Boy Scouts, because it's beer bottles and things
Yeah.
that have a deposit on it.
right.
You know,
That's why there's value.
yeah.
I don't know if it's value in that respect, but I guess whoever the vendor they sell it to obviously needs the brown, and they don't need the clear and the green, so.
All right.
Guess they don't have Heineken as one of their,
So for right now, you're gonna leave it colored and clear, you're not gonna switch?
it's
You
kind of,
should
it's kind of a
start.
work in progress.
Okay.
You know, we're monitoring the markets. Right now, because my vendor that's been taking everything hasn't been reliable in glass, I'm gonna take it and do it myself. It's gonna cost us a little more.
Yeah.
But
And you can see
to
what happens.
transition over to another vendor is gonna, I don't know if they're gonna want their compactors back, if we're gonna have to invest in new compactors. I mean, it's kind of complicated. I mean, it's a system that's worked great. She still is taking glass on occasion. I just have to really
Okay.
push her, call her every day, hound her, and she finally gets sick of listening to me, she'll come down and grab it. You know, I mean,
Right.
believe it's no fun for me doing that, but like I said, when I got desperate and she wasn't coming through, making promises, not coming through, I went and brought it down to Franklin.
I
And
assume that it would not be feasible to, as a transitional step, to have clear, brown, and other? I can't see how you can talk to people that-
Transitional, brown and, or clear and other, and then separate the brown. It's a you
Yeah.
only have two bins.
Right.
You're not
I-
gonna,
I would say there's
You
no
can't.
third bin, is
Yeah,
what
there's
I'm
no third
saying.
bin,
can't
right.
do
But-
we don't have room, and
Yeah.
you'd have to build a whole new stairway, because you'd have to have 3
Could you put
bins.
a divider in one of the bins?
Yeah.
Well, you know something, that's something that could be done, but let me just say this. The education process is the hardest. I'd have to have somebody standing up there and basically for how long, who knows how long, just to get people familiar with the new system.
no, well, some who care about recycling may actually get it.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I have to be like 95% clean with the amber for them to take it, otherwise it's considered commingled. So, I mean, you really have to have somebody monitoring it.
Jeez.
Okay, yeah.
There you
Yes,
go.
position of Boy Scout there. Okay, thank you. That was,
That's enlightening.
that was way more
yes.
about glass than I ever thought we would know. All right, number 9, regarding mowing.
Yes.
And we kind of asked about this
Yeah.
earlier. So and you said the mowing, you still needed to have the extra. An additional ask potentially for the outside tree cutters for the 20,000. How much of that has gotten done?
None of
with
it's
the-
gotten done as of yet. I planned on doing that in the spring.
Okay, because that's in this FY,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Is that a replacement of the boom flail mower going up and
No,
cutting?
no.
No, wait, I didn't finish my question. Going up high and cutting tree branches that residents have complained about?
Yeah, they have.
But would that replace that use of the boom flail mower?
No. No, but let me just say this. The first cut after 20 years was pretty dramatic. And in some places, yeah, it did look terrible. I agree. There's no other economical way to do it. I understand people's concerns. That first cut has been done townwide. From this point on, it's going to be maintenance, so whatever little grows in a couple of years will get trimmed off. It's not going to be a 10-foot branch getting hacked off, okay? So it's not going to be as
The hacking
dramatic.
is the right use of the
Right.
word, and that's why I thought maybe your
No, and-
outside tree people would then,
The whole idea of this is there's many areas that the boom flail was not able to get to for various reasons, or the trees have either gotten too large, okay? I have a couple of streets that I actually, with my own budget, like, for example, Willow Street, the trees were actually growing at a 45-degree angle over the roadway, and they were getting bigger and bigger every year. They were all like this size here. They were growing out of an embankment. And I knew, every time it snowed, I mean, my trucks, they were pulling off mirrors and taking lights off the top and everything else. So I said, this is just going to get worse and worse if I let it continue. So I went and cut all those trees along that embankment. It made a huge difference. Okay? My contention is if you don't get trees when they're at a certain age, they get more and more expensive every year. It becomes a bigger and
Oh,
bigger
yeah.
project.
Yep.
So, the stuff within the roadway right away, that is a problem tree, clearly a problem tree, they need to be cut. And once we do that, I think we'll be way ahead of the game. I have to come up with a plan with Christian Bilodeau to do it in a way that meets the requirements of our Shade Tree Act and all that. I recognize that. He's got the authority to make those decisions, so I will be sitting with him, and we will be discussing that. His budget is woefully inadequate also. I mean, there are so many trees around town. I drive around, I say, oh my God, they're totally dead. They might be 50 feet high. They're totally dead. They're going to come down.
Oh, yeah.
I go by them, get rot, more rot on them, more rot. You see branches falling off, and you know what I mean? We need to put more attention to our trees along the roadways. And it's not just the ones that we want to trim nicely like they were our backyard trees, because they're not. It's the ones that are dangerous. There's a lot of dangerous trees. So this is where I want to see the money spent. But it's not just going to be a tree warden expense, because he kind of focuses on different priorities than I do. So he's going to take care of his priorities with his money. I'm going to take care of mine with my money. And we'll work together on it to make sure it's all being done according to this shade tree bylaw.
But since you haven't done the work that the first, I believe it was 20,000, went toward, you don't know as of yet exactly how many that will cover and how much more. So, but basically what you're telling us is there's such an overwhelming need for it that you would need.
20,000 clearly isn't done that. It's all set now, no problems. I honestly, until I get out there and see what 20,000 does, I suspect it's going to take a number of years to catch up. Okay?
Okay,
But,
all right.
I didn't want to go and ask for the full program up front, because how do you sell something like that? I look at it as a maintenance program.
Okay. All right. Question 10. And this is the bare pavement policy for plowing.
Right, which we don't have.
Okay.
Oh, you don't?
No, we don't have a
I didn't know
pavement policy. Many towns do. Most towns do. We don't. Because of environmental concerns. Now, I know I open myself up to criticism by doing what I'm doing. You know, and my peers, when I meet with them, they'll often tell me, why do you do that? I'm environmentally conscious. I recognize this town cherishes their rural environment. People, 95% of the people in town have their own wells. I've been in towns where the water systems have had to be extended because their wells get salted out. From all the salt that gets put down over the years, it accumulates year after year, and it becomes worse and worse. By having this reduced salt policy that I have, I think it's putting off, 20 years, 30 years, the day that you're going to have to say, oh, we got to bite the bullet and put a water system in town-wide, because it's coming. I guarantee you it's coming. You know, you got septic systems on all these properties, they're all dumping whatever into the groundwater. You know, it's the salt that's getting put down, all kinds of environmental pollutants. It gets worse and worse and worse every year. And the water quality in the town stinks anyways, but most people have problems with their wells. They have to put advanced treatment on their wells because of the poor water quality. Besides the fact that a lot of people probably don't even know they got high arsenic levels or radon in their water anyways. And that's one of the things we're pushing for, to start educating the public to have their wells tested, just to make sure there's peace of mind with them. I mean, our public water is tested on a regular basis, but I don't think a lot of people test their water. And they might not know what they're drinking.
That sounds like who's the committee that would do that? Like a Board of Health or something?
Yeah, I think, actually, the Water Resource Committee, we were talking about this, and they sent a letter to the Board of Health, and I think
There
the
you
Board
go.
of Health actually thought that was a very good idea for
I do too,
a
yeah.
public message to get out there. But, I know I'm going beyond what you're asking here, but the whole idea here is I want to be environmentally a good steward of the environment and keep the salt as low as possible, to maintain safety, but not go over the top and just say, oh, we got bare road policy. What's wrong with a little slush on the road? It's not the end of the world. I mean, I think the roads are safe enough the way we do it. I can certainly change it, though, if
So-
necessary.
Basically, the trade-off is you're using less salt and people just have to drive safely.
That's right.
No, but do you have any, you probably have no sway with the state that runs a lot of salt on Air Road?
Mass Ave.
Mass Ave,
Right,
thank you.
right.
You have no sway with because it is downtown, Center Houses is very heavy-duty salt.
You've probably noticed, if you live in that area, that Mass Highway throws down
Straight salt.
straight salt, and it's just a ridiculous
They don't
amount of
It's a,
use
salt.
it's a, and you have no sway in that, Tim? Do you have any
Well,
sway?
no,
Because
I will say this,
tried.
the Water Resource Committee is investigating that, and there's two different approaches that could be considered that we've been discussing. One is to try to get the state to put a low salt policy on that section of roads. It's a whole, nothing's easy when it comes to the state, but you have to prove your wells are being deteriorated from the salt and all that. The other approach that they're talking about is the possibility of having the state maybe even give us the road and for us to maintain it ourselves.
Now, on the flip side of that, and I totally appreciate the reduced salt policy, but on that particular road, on 111, both ends of it, going out toward 495, there's some significant hills with
Yes, there are.
turns. And I personally would be seriously concerned if they reduced, if there was slush on those roads, I'm afraid there would be accidents. Because those are, going down hills with, it is, if you're headed toward air and you have to negotiate those hills, it's markedly different
That
than.
one hill and turn just by Slough Road there.
Yeah,
Intersection there. It's
yeah.
pretty-
And-
It could be
and
dangerous.
the other turns when you
Or
get
that-
down.
For that hill, for that matter, the hill from Slough going down to the center of town is wild.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
is. I see.
yeah.
Yep.
So I wouldn't, wouldn't push on that one too hard. Gosh, then it
Right,
just-
right. You know, but the thing they don't do is they put the same amount of salt on the hills as they do on the flats.
Exactly, that's.
They
that's
they
the
don't
point.
consider how they're putting it down. They set it to a certain setting and just lay it down. You know, we also recognize there's hills in town, it's dangerous hills.
Yeah.
And we'll put a double application on those hills, only because we want to make sure the hills are safe
Okay.
as they can be.
And then not as much on the flats.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great.
So it's a better managed plan
Yeah, yep.
than just the state saying, just blast it.
Just blast it. Okay, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, if town residents sometime in the future forced you to go to the Bear Roads policy of surrounding towns, that would have an incremental cost impact to the town, right? For incremental salt purchases?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think
Any
last
idea
year
of
we
what the
spent
cost would
almost
be?
200,000 on salt. It would be double that.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's probably something to keep in mind if people complain about that.
And you know something? When it comes to safety, money usually isn't a good argument, okay? People would rather have safe than save the money. What I like to sell it as is being environmentally friendly. I think it resonates better with people than trying to say you'll save all this money if I have a reduced policy.
Yeah,
There's a
totally agree. I
lot
was
of
thinking
different
of
approaches you
flip
can
side.
take. It's
Your
It's a s- it's-
discussion has raised a different question in my mind, which you probably aren't equipped to answer, but I'll ask it anyway. And that is, in terms of this well testing,
Yes.
is there any precedent that you're aware of for a town to establish an agreement with a particular well testing firm to make its services available throughout the town at a reduced rate?
We use
Hasn't I,
we use a local vendor. We use a local vendor. I don't know. Maybe that's something we can distribute when we do the,
Well, we would have to put it out and get bids on it, and then people would have to be willing to use them, and it would depend. They're not gonna do it unless they know how many people are gonna be utilizing it. So you'd actually have to have people who wanna sign up for it before you actually go out to bid on it.
It could be they're using it already, if it's a local, yeah.
Well, no, we have a local one for
okay.
for
the water
the
department.
water department, who does the town wells. I mean, as far as every individual citizen, they're responsible for their own water well. So what Bruce is asking is whether or not there is a thing out there for residents to be able to do it, as opposed to you contracting individually with somebody, us doing a blanket contract, but we would have to know how many
I know.
people before we could put out a bid, and then get them signed up and then do it, and then, yes, you would get a reduced cost at that.
All right. Why don't we move on to number 11? This is the question on the overtime pay and the on-call pay. And the history, we see the history. Well, the history, we could see the police details. Because the overtime and the on-call was included above for the historical, we didn't have anything to gauge the budgeted amounts against.
Sure.
So that's why we asked that question.
You do all understand it now, how it works? Do you have a question on it?
And you already had mentioned that the only time you ever use it is in snow and ice, so.
Snow and ice, and like I said, there are some, cases where, for example, well, I'd even include that in snow and ice. If we had a storm and trees come down, we might have to get a police detail in order to clear the tree out of the road. But I mean, that's almost, considered like a snow and ice overtime kind of situation. So,
Okay, are there any other questions on that? All right. I think question 12, we already talked about thoroughly.
Yep.
That was the pay by bag. Question 13, the road maintenance materials, we talked about that as well. And we already took it down, so we took care of question 13.
Yeah, I agree with this one.
Very good. Okay, I think that addresses everything that we had on our lengthy list. Thank you for taking the time to
No problem at
all
all.
the answers, and we appreciate it. Thanks for all the
I
hard
always
work.
enjoy an opportunity to talk about public works. It doesn't, it's not a subject that many people get into. It's kind of nice sometimes, just let people know what we're doing.
Yep.
Well, it really is very enlightening. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for coming out today,
Yep,
Rich.
no problem.
Have a safe drive home.
Thank you.
Bruce, take one of those. I'm assuming nobody got the library ones either.
No, yeah, we got
Well, the
library.
library and the DPW should have come out on the same day, because I went upstairs and checked my emails, and I sent them to Lorraine for your meeting on the 16th. So I have no idea what happened to the
So it
DPW
is
ones.
Lorraine's problem.
Yes, this was, yeah. Because we got.
Because I assumed you didn't have the libraries
Well, we
too,
had the
because they were
lib-
both sent on the same day.
No, we had the library, we just did not get the other.
The library, What's the additional budget question? Where's that come from?
That's the only one I
That's the only
can.
I have
one.
one question for department library. So your total ambition.
That, Bruce, was the questions that were asked first, the selectmen, and then the second page, the additional is ours.
Coffee, tea, and hot chocolate. and one
Oh, well then, if you don't have
There you
this
go.
copy, I have
Hey, have a safe
it.
drive
Does
back.
anybody
And
else
I do,
not
if
have
you
it?
win, I do see you Monday. If for nothing else, just to shake hands and say goodbye.
Yeah, I just took it.
Okay. Okay, we're all set. Come on up, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We were debating chairs. I said I need the tall one because otherwise I look like Lil Dan with my chin on the table.
Now, Mary.
Well, this one is
Okay,
nice.
so this year we only had 3 questions for you, so if you could, why don't we just start at the top and you can,
Do you want us to go through the whole budget or just some of the questions you had?
the questions.
Okay, so we actually received 2 rounds of questions. I don't know if the first ones came from Tim and Lorraine, maybe?
Tim, Lorraine.
The very first ones came from Lorraine and I, just on the budgets, and then the FinCom got those answers and everything in the first meeting in December, and they reviewed them, and then they came up with additional questions.
Okay.
We sent out those questions to you, you answered them, and we gave them your answers.
All right, so.
Hopefully gave them your answers.
I'm assuming it's the one about the SLIN grant? Is that your, those are
Yes.
your questions?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, the one that says additional budget questions.
All right, there we go. So you want me to speak to these questions?
Yes.
Annually, we have an expense line that includes our membership in CWMRs as well as our materials expenditure, and that is a required expenditure percentage of our annual operating budget in order for us to receive certification every year. This year, and I think it started in FY15, that they started looking, the MBLC started looking at some of the smaller libraries in population towns under 10,000 to expand the SLIN program, which stands for Small Libraries and Networks. When it was first started, it was to allow libraries that had no technology to be incorporated into a consortium. So for the most part, a lot of this happened out in Western Mass. But as that got accomplished, and there was this MBI project, which is the Mass Broadband Project, it brought fiber up I-91 and brought it into some of the smaller towns that didn't have anything other than, dial-up service or something. For a lot of those towns, the library became the central location of the hotspot. Once that was accomplished, they started looking at how they could expand the program and allow more towns to participate in it. And knowing that the cost of technology and membership in some of these consortiums is, growing as budgets will do, they looked at some of the towns under 10,000, and if they met a number of qualifications, you were going to be included in it. We don't directly apply for this. This comes from the network itself. And so CWMRS applies, and it was as of this current fiscal year that we got an offset, and it's just slightly under $2,000. And we'll get one again next year. And what it has done for us, which is pretty terrific, is it's offset the increase in our membership. So it's been, less than $1,000 more for next year, where some of the libraries are seeing a $2,000 to $3,000 increase. So it's been most beneficial to our budget.
What did it offset again, Mary?
membership in CW Mars, an increase of the membership. Didn't offset the membership. The
Yeah,
membership is still expensive.
CW Mars
Um,
membership.
And you said this should continue
Well,
annually as long as it, I mean,
It's
you never
state-
know what you never know,
Right,
but.
it's state-funded, and based on the governor's suggestion that he's going to try to cut $50 million or something yesterday from this year's budget, or they're in deficit of some enormous number. Who knows where the cuts will come?
The states, oh yeah, there's $380 million
Something.
deficit right
Yeah.
now.
The MBLC has been hit with cuts before, but for right now, we have received the money for this year, so we're good. So they wouldn't hit cities and
Thanks for that
towns.
Right.
explanation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's in my report.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. About to come.
Previews of
Yes,
unpleasant coming
exactly.
attractions, huh? All right, question 2 on the materials budget and your process for determining what you purchase. That
Okay.
was,
Well, we do have a policy, obviously, in our policy manual for the library. 16% of our annual operating budget needs to be met in order to fulfill the mandated requirements for certification annually. Clearly, within the library, we have some experts in subject areas, and they are expected to follow the current reading in Library Journal, New York Times Book Review, and anything that's out there, both in just library-oriented materials as well as things like People Magazine that our public's going to be reading, and to make decisions on what should be purchased based on credible peer-reviewed articles. They do, for the most part, submit everything just for my eye glance, and if there's any questions, it's all collaborative. Our children's librarian, we're so greatly blessed. She has a master's degree in children's literature.
wow.
So, yeah, she's spot on with what children need, and she has for a time taught in the Concord Public Schools as she was an assistant in the reading aide in the Concord Public Schools before coming to us. So she's very well versed in, the different reading methods and things like that. So, we're in great shape there. Our reference librarian and assistant reference librarian that also does YA has had a number of years in this department and is very familiar both with the patrons' needs, the school needs. They have ongoing conversation and dialogue with the schools to make sure that students' research needs are met. And I'm in charge of the adult collections. And I'd like to think I have good feel after living in town for 30 or more years of the town and the population, its wants, its likes, and whatnot. Oh, the other thing that I should also.
Suggestions all the time, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, people
We
want
get,
in, yeah.
I get phone messages, I get email messages. It's all
People are
good.
passionate about what they want to read.
They are, and I also get suggestions about, I got a new this, I got a new that, because there's a lot of the electronic resources we now offer.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
for many of you very busy people who may not be able to get to the library during our open hours, we have a lot of downloadable ebooks, e-audios, that are really wonderful. And given what the stock market's doing, we also now have availability to search Morningstar through the library. So anyone who's got a library card and wants to check on their investments, we can offer that to you as well.
I like the fact that you get reports on what's reserved and what's,
We do.
and what's being transferred over, because that's a great way to see what all the demands are.
Right, and we have the whole shelf behind the circ desk. I always, peruse what's coming in or what we see 3 copies of that we might have missed. I mean, that happens
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. All right, question 3, the $9,000 difference between the budget and the MAR, would the trustees fund that difference?
I will defer to my trustee chair. This is Chris Frechette, for any of you who may not know
Right,
Chris.
so this was the,
This is the, using the town-held trust funds
Right.
to fund the difference, which we did vote on.
right, we voted on that we'd approve that.
Thank you very much.
Big help.
We appreciate that.
So that would then bring us down to the MAR.
Yes.
And as, for anyone who doesn't know, I assume this is John, only because I've seen a new name on the list. I'm Mary Wilson. The MAR is our bottom line. It stands for Municipal Appropriation Requirement, and it is an average of the 3 previous fiscal years plus 2.5%. And if you meet that, that's the first barometer of our measure for being certified. Then you have your 16% material expenditures. Then you have to, have lend to other towns, this, that, and the other thing.
Right, so it's not we're not required to do it, but if we want to be certified, and the downside is if we decide for some reason not to be certified by not hitting the MAR, can't do interlibrary loan, for example, which would be
Yeah,
a
yeah, we
severe
don't-
Oh,
problem.
yeah,
we don't
which
ever-
is
Yeah, we went
it's
through
25 to
that.
30,000 items a year.
Yeah,
2011, we went
Yeah,
through that?
yeah.
Close.
Was it
Yeah.
10, somewhere around there?
Something like that.
So it's
When
an
everything
important-
hit,
It is
2009, yeah,
important.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
everyone
it
else
was
had to cut back,
2009.
I remember we
Yeah. You
preserved.
remember that, yeah.
Yes, I do remember that year.
For that reason, yeah.
Yep.
Not pleasant, but either.
We got through it.
Yep, we
And it
did.
was a
We're all still-
collaborative effort
we're
by
still
all
here.
of us, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was all the additional questions that we had.
Oh.
Was there anything else that you wanted to tell us specifically? I mean, because that
No.
cleared up any of our questions, or if you had questions for us or anything?
No, just a shameless plug to come on down and avail yourself of the resources that the tax dollars support, and it doesn't even require you entering the building. You can do it from home, do it from work.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, the
Yes,
ebooks are great. Sometimes you wait a while to get them.
you
but-
do,
but
you
they're
do, there
good.
can be. CW Mars has a policy for the overdrive collection that once someone hits 5 in line, they buy a new copy.
Oh, that's good to know.
Oh.
Because I
Is that-
haven't
is that a new
signed up.
policy?
That is CW Mars policy. Now, that doesn't come out of our, I mean, that's part of our membership with
Oh,
CW
okay.
Mars.
That's
So
good to
they
know.
did that this year because there were, if you were 10th in line and they're going out for 2 weeks, that's 20 weeks down the road before you're
yeah.
even thinking about it. I mean,
Might
so
even
yeah.
buy it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, I bought so many books because I was like 220th in line for some of these.
So, yeah, for the electronic resources
Yeah.
now, they're trying to make sure the numbers get down, the hold numbers get down to a bare minimum, and that they don't go above that, and then they'll buy a new copy,
That
which is
would be a
great.
good thing to let the public know.
Okay.
It would, because I don't even
Very
sign up
nice.
anymore because again, it was too long. And so I stopped.
Yeah, and I've had the same experience, and then I've also had the experience where you put a bunch on hold thinking that, well, you're 5th here, you're 7th here, and then maybe someone hasn't taken out what's come to them, and then you've got 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
So then you pick
right.
and choose.
Yes. I've done
But they're great. I mean, I started walking using audiobooks, which I didn't used to do in the past, and I've got through 25 books this year just that way.
It's a lot of
And it's-
walking.
Wow. Are you wearing a Fitbit when you do that? How many steps was that?
No, I'm not doing,
You keep track of books per mile, or?
I have an old iPod, and I just keep downloading them. It's so much more entertaining than,
Yeah.
if you're on a treadmill and you're at a gym and you're watching the TV or you listen to a radio or something. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I know so many people that do that while they're driving.
Yeah.
But
Well, walking
I miss
is
turns,
safer.
It's like I lose track of where I'm going. It's just.
Mary, we're looking forward to your blog about your experiences in the library.
There's in the library. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
The
We
new
are going to,
website.
we are
Yeah.
redoing the website this year.
Yeah.
And this is something the trust
Right,
is
it's funding.
taking care of. Trustees are going to fund it.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make sure that it is mobile first. Because so much of the world is mobile first.
Yep,
Right?
yeah.
You're looking at it with your smartphone or your tablet. You're not at your desktop.
I do it all the time.
Technically, it works better to start with the mobile, and so we found this guy who did, what, was it Amherst? No.
Amherst, New Hampshire Public
Amherst, New
Library.
Hampshire's public library website is unbelievable. So we saw that, and we said, that's what we want. It won't be exactly like that, but the guy we're working with is wonderful. So it'll take a while. It'll be months before we get it done, but it's going to be significantly updated. But just
We
more
have,
modern.
we found the same thing on the town side with the town's websites, is that they're not mobile friendly. And
Yeah.
it's one of the proposals that we've put in to make changes in modules that we have to be able to have them work better on iPads and all
Right.
Apples
Maybe you could
and
share
Androids.
resources.
Yeah, well,
Share a
we can-
person.
Yeah, we can certainly recommend this guy. Well, we'll see as we go, but
Yeah,
we're,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
underway. We've been surveying patrons as well as the staff.
Right.
Find out, we have a pretty good idea, but let's see what the needs are.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we go
Oh,
from
that's
there,
great.
build it from there.
Right. And I think Stacy said when she was reporting on it last week that up until a certain point, before we encouraged the middle schoolers to add their 2 cents, 100% of the people who took survey were mobile and using smartphones. It dropped a bit when the middle schoolers were there, but
Yeah.
Only temporarily, though. 'cause It's just a
Absolutely.
matter of time when they get their own phone.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm expecting an increase in use of the outdoor patio this summer.
We are too. We need to talk a little bit about furnishing that perhaps,
Yeah,
as a
Now, is that
final piece.
available, that's a, I hadn't
Available
even- is
to
that
rent.
available to
Yes,
rent?
yes.
And how does that work? I mean, because
We
that,
are, we've had a couple of
Well, we wanted to do a
requests for,
retirement party there.
Things, so, right now, we're doing it kind of case by case, as a trustee decision, because we have guidelines, but there are things happening, we're getting requests now that we never really anticipated, like for.
It's a beautiful spot.
oh, it's
So-
weddings,
So-
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know.
Little small receptions.
Right.
Yeah, so we're not,
absolutely.
there's no rule dead set against it, but we have to look at it, and as time evolves, we'll see what makes sense. I mean, we have guidelines for the use of Volunteers Hall that we probably
Yeah,
apply, but,
yeah. No, it's an exciting new space,
Yeah.
and you did well by
that's
it.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was
Good.
nice.
Well, thank you
Very
very
good.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
And spending
Thanks
some
for
of your
spending so
Saturday
much time.
with us.
Don't forget, go to the dump today.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Interesting about the brown
Be
glass.
careful with your drive.
Yeah, it is.
I know.
You can still commingle.
Somehow I think if you told people, put brown here, they would follow it, but
I used
maybe
to
I'm,
volunteer there when we have lots of volunteers.
Yes.
It's a challenge.
oh, okay.
He's right.
Despite the signs,
You
people
look in
just,
those, you look in those containers
All
and
right,
see stuff that does not belong, so.
wow.
The CW Mass has.
He's right, yeah, okay.
With 10,000 above and below town. It's pretty nice if they do that for those under town.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Just cross it continues.
Yeah, because that's one of those that they could shove off to the individual communities if they,
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah, that's nice.
I have a booklet at home that I've received, but I'd be happy to toss into the paper thing, except it's got a little spiral binding.
oh, you know what? I just threw away one of those and I put it in the recycle bin, so I just assumed it was fine because,
Because I was gonna toss it in the garbage on the
Yeah.
grounds that it had metal in it.
yeah, I think they strip those out when they do the shredding or
Can
something.
only go so far.
Yeah,
Take staples out.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't have to.
You shouldn't have to take out a banger plane.
Yes, if it's metal. Plastic, I don't think you'd have to, but metal you do.
all right, so that takes care of DPW and library. Tim, did you by any chance hear anything back from
I
Park and
I
Rec?
have not heard anything back. I went upstairs when I was checking my emails to Lorraine back in December.
We'll leave that between you and Lorraine.
Oh, yeah, that's a I already sent her an email, and I'm expecting a response.
When your phone explodes, we'll.
Yeah, no, she won't call me. She'll send it via email.
Yeah.
She won't. Oh, no, she's enjoying it too much.
She's enjoying saying, this is the last time I do this.
That's
This is
right.
the last time I do.
However, I have to tell you, she's being extremely good at making sure that the staff know different pieces of what she does, so that that's done. She's working with Marie right now with regards to procurement, because Marie's going to be taking over the procurement piece of things. So she is doing a great job. I mean, it's not like she's just lounging in a chair and not doing anything. She's doing everything, plus to make sure that when she transitions, the things go well. And we'll be putting that advertisement out next week for her position.
Is it
To
one
start
ad or
that
two?
process. It's one.
And we've confirmed with schools that it is.
The
they will be here the
23rd at 8:30?
23rd. John, you had sent out, which I think probably makes a good, is it,
Historical.
you know, to have historical in
New chair.
the new chair.
Are you going to contact Mo? Is he going to come?
I can contact him and ask him, you want me to invite him?
Well, it's up
For
to
the
you.
Wednesday meetings? I think, I don't know,
It's up to you. I mean, I don't mind doing it. It's just a question as to which Wednesday. If we don't get Concom, do you want him in? I mean, not
Oh,
Concom,
Park and Rec
Park and Rec.
on the 13th?
Because if they don't respond, then, I mean, right now, you're jockeying those two.
Yeah.
you've invited.
We've
what's your
invited-
Communication to Park and Rec.
Park and Rec was for this Wednesday night at 7:30, giving you,
haven't
giving
offered
you,
20.
I have not offered them the 20th. However, if they don't respond for the 13th, you people told me to have them on the 20th.
Why don't I email Mo this weekend and ask him for the 20th
Mm-hmm,
and say, there's a possibility we could do you on the 13th.
that's fine.
Oh, okay, and then,
Because I do expect to hear hopefully by Monday.
All right.
I cannot use any of their work emails. I use their home emails because of a situation they're all going through currently, so.
Okay.
all right. So that takes care of all of those schedules.
I don't
Anything?
think there's anybody else we need to.
No, that was it on the list.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Yes, well, we will, I think we will want to have either, probably head of ambulance back, or at least a communication after they talk.
On that piece, I talked to the police chief the next day. The fire chief had talked to both gentlemen that were here that night, and they're going to be meeting. And the police chief is going to set up a meeting with them with regards to the administrative piece
Okay.
and what that entails, so forth, so on, to be
Okay.
able to deal with that. Because as he told me, as he said to me, reiterated to me, he said, in the answers to my questions, I said there was. It's just a question as to what is it actually that they're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
So he says that he'll set it up to sit down with them and get that, so hopefully it will all work out.
Okay.
One
In the
question I
background,
had that occurred
yes.
to me, actually, as I was reading the selectmen's answers that you passed out
Yeah.
last meeting. Next on your list for possible audits would be police and ambulance for next.
Fire and ambulance.
Or fire and ambulance.
That's correct.
If you decide to do that. I don't
And-
recall the cost of that being in a budget.
It's not, it's in it would be an article that will be submitted by this week, and we're supposed to be getting a draft of the report for the DPW, as well as the cost to do the ambulance and fire. And we moved ambulance and fire up, because it was going to be the police next.
Yeah.
We were doing the DPW police, we're doing the larger budgets first.
Yeah.
But then when the ambulance and the fire department both had that issue of personnel coming into sight,
Yeah.
we decided to move police,
Excellent.
ambulance and fire
That
together.
was exactly my thought, because maybe we
That's why we
just
did it.
delay this permanent hire decision.
Until we have a
approval
full
until you do
review.
the audit,
Right.
because, I was struck by the fact of his comment that we are the only volunteer ambulance operation left in Worcester County.
We're the only full volunteer. There is no one paid on our department. There are other departments that have volunteers, but they also have
Paid staff.
some paid,
At least one
Right.
paid staff.
like Bolton, I believe, has one. They have that firefighter EMT, which is paid
Uh-huh.
staff,
Okay.
but then everybody else is volunteer.
Just as our fire department is no longer all volunteer.
No, it's,
Right,
it's a
Combination.
pay-for-call department as well as a single full-time chief.
The audit that comes out, they're all public accessible, right?
The final
The
document is
final document, and when will that final, our
supposed to be
first-
coming, it's supposed to be coming up by the end of this month,
Will it be put up on the webpage?
as we do with all our reports. However, it doesn't seem that everybody goes to our website to take a look at what's there.
But it might help to remind people.
Oh, I know.
We have put more stuff on our website for people to be able to find. If it's under the Board of Selectmen, I believe and there's a search engine on there too. So you can type in a keyword and try and find what you're looking for as well.
Sometimes it isn't easy to find it, but the
Right.
search turns it up.
Correct.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't put everything on the front page.
right.
I mean,
Right.
And you're doing a redesign anyway?
we're hoping to, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hoping to, okay.
That's going to cost money, and that would be an article. It would be an upgrade to what we're currently doing.
Is the facilities manager an article as well?
Right now, we don't believe it will have to be.
Because it's using an existing person
Right.
potentially.
Okay, I hadn't heard the update.
That's
on
not
it.
finalized yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal, is to use an existing person so that we
That
don't
was,
have to.
that is to be announced. It was supposed to be the 19th of this month. It's now the 26th, because the Board of Selectmen changed the meeting from the 19th to the 26th, because on the 9th, school is out on the 19th, and there were some conflicts with board members, so we moved it to the 26th.
All right.
need to ask you a question after.
Anything else on any of the other, any of the budgets, committees in terms
Park and Rec
of,
and historical, I think. are
those are the only two then?
Mhm.
Okay.
And the Board of Selectmen, which was next Wednesday.
Yeah. All right, then. And for next Wednesday, we'll have a revised roll-up from,
Lorraine, yes. I talked to her on Thursday, and she said that there were some items that she had to review. She was going to do that, and it would be ready for next Wednesday.
Okay.
all right, town administrator report.
As you preliminary heard, the governor and the state have reported a $340 to $368 million shortfall for this year. However, the governor said he's not looking to cities and towns to bear the brunt of it, so he's looking to try and take care of it all within the state budget.
And is that a continuation of, part of that was the casino shortfall? Is that still the biggest part of
I
it?
think it's one of the larger parts of it. There are other, I mean, they have been taking a lot of money and putting it towards the opioid crisis, so I'm sure there's some health issues and health costs where they've reallocated funds, and I'm sure it's costing them more than they originally anticipated to try and tackle that. They're doing a very aggressive job at getting that in hand, otherwise the cost beyond
Oh,
what
gosh, it's horrible.
is horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So if they're able to spend whatever they can now and attack it hard, then it saves significant costs in healthcare and everything else, and lives, and
It's just the whole
Yeah.
situation is so sad.
so.
All right. And did Lorraine have anything?
No, Lorraine did not have anything for us. There was nothing other than the minutes and the agenda that she had. Beyond that,
All right. Liaison reports. Anyone?
No meetings.
Okay. Any other business?
I was going through the book, and I think all you have to be able to give out is only, Steve does local schools. It's only one,
Which
two,
are you going
three.
to do this? Last year we skipped it because you were traveling, and so we didn't have a local schools report. Do you want
That
to?
was 2 years.
Oh, was that 2 years ago? Did you do, oh, you know what, last year you did, Lorraine did, it was a
I think I
little,
did.
it was a little one, it was.
It was a little one
It was
less.
a little one,
Yeah, with a pie chart in
yeah,
it.
just a short one.
I have it pulled up right here.
Before I left.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
last year, I have it right here. It's on my iPad. Last year, it was
That's right,
that.
just a very simple.
It was a page.
Yep, okay.
It was actually 2 pages. It had, went into Devon's. So,
So Steve, if there's anything else you want to add to it or want to suggest, or if you want to leave it as is?
Okay, I'll look at it.
so that's usually Steve and Lorraine. I mean, I'm looking at this, and it looks like everything is accounted for. There are only 3 things that need to be done,
There's
have
the,
to be put out.
there's Finance Committee address, which is me.
For you, the FY16 schedule of changes in revenue and expenditures, which I believe is
That's
Lorraine.
Lorraine,
and
that's Lorraine.
Lorraine.
There's the
State of the town.
That's the one that we have to assign to people.
Right.
Usually 2 people take that.
Correct. And then you have the,
Yeah.
and then you have.
Last year, I think it was Alan and Dawn.
Alan and Don last year.
Yeah. So be thinking about that.
And then you had the community comparison chart.
Which I did last year.
Oh, supposedly with me, but you did it.
Do you want
Oh,
to,
okay.
do you want to be responsible for that again?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, and then we always have a spotlight on a department. That's the other piece. You know, we've done
Local
COA,
schools,
we've done
community
fire,
comparison
we've
chart,
done.
Financial protection, municipal building spotlight, I have a question mark next to that.
See, because
And
that was
who
just
we-
the spotlight. Last year, we decided it was municipal buildings, so.
Before that, we were doing departments.
Right, right. And we didn't feel there was a department that,
We had done the library,
yep, we've done COA,
COA, fire.
fire. Did we do police? We haven't done
I'm
DPW.
sorry, I was thinking.
We
doing
haven't done
Parks and Rec.
ambulance.
Did we do fire, or did we do it
Did we
DPW?
do- I would have to look back. We have not done,
I can pull them, I
Yeah.
can pull each one of them. I just have to go back, we've been doing it now for what, 4 years, 5
Yeah.
years?
we have not done ambulance or,
Well, where's the news at?
yeah, that's usually what dictates us, where's the most action happening that.
Or the
interest-
curiosity,
Or the
the
interesting
curiosity.
things that we have found. And maybe this year, it should be ambulance, particularly with the whole shift that they're proposing and how.
Or it could be the regionalization of the police department, because there's been no report on,
I
no
mean,
public
on the
report on the
dispatch.
on the
It's-
dispatch.
Yeah, it's just the dispatch.
Yeah. Or it could be brown
could-
glass at the DPW. I think we could expand that for a page.
I mean, one that you haven't, I know you haven't done is schools.
Spotlight on schools seems. Now, spotlight on
Complicated.
what to do with Brownfield House is another issue.
Yeah, but that's controversial as well. It could be, if it's done well.
Spotlight on this building.
That's very controversial.
Well, well, let's all think about all these. We don't have to.
Park and recreation, cemetery.
Spotlight on the cemetery.
I think that would be a deadly report.
I was just waiting
I was
for
waiting,
someone.
I was wondering which,
waiting for-
I was looking around the table, so I was gonna come up with the pun for this one.
An empty page.
So we have time to think, we have to think about what the spotlight's going to be.
And we also want to talk about the state of the town, larger picture.
Well, in that,
And
we
that's
have
in
the
the
whole
state of the
that's
town.
in state of the town.
That's a separate
If,
section.
that's a whole separate
I know,
article.
but it's something we all sort of churn about and think about the direction.
And topics that we want to,
That's right.
specific topics that we want to have included in the state of the town.
Mhm.
Yep. This year. Does anybody right now know that they would like to work on the state of the town article?
Done it.
None yet. Or the spotlight?
Have to think about it.
Okay, well, everyone be thinking of that.
So if you guys can just think of those items, I mean, again, it's only state of the town. Bruce is gonna do the community comparison chart. Steve's gonna do local schools with Lorraine. And it's the spotlight. Everything else is, Heidi's gonna do the cover, contents page is mine. Lorraine does reserve fund transfers. The financial projections will be for the financial projection and recap worksheet that's in there. You can review what you've done. We'll bring the page that we used last year, and we can change things, add to it, take away, do whatever you want with it. So I can go ahead, start working on that chart. CPIC does its report and the recommendations. Town meeting procedures is just something. The warrant article summary is myself, the warrant's me, and the budget's Lorraine.
Yeah,
And that's-
sometimes we have a CPC, or CPA, whatever.
CPC we did not do last year.
Yeah, because they didn't have anything.
So the question is, do you want to send something to CPC, especially since they're looking at using
Right,
$300,000
just to give people
so
an
that they
update.
can do that? Do you want me to contact Dee Dee?
Yeah, thank you.
Tim, contact Dee Dee. Because I would imagine this year they would want to put something in to
Yeah.
explain
so
what they're
that everyone
doing.
understands that.
Yeah. And they can give a report on where their funds are, so forth, so on.
Where is this, do we want to pay any particular attention to this one-time, really big?
Let's see, yeah. Yeah, and we can cover that, I can cover that in my address, or, you know, because it's not really state of the town. I think probably my,
appropriate for your-
Talking about
my
free
address.
cash?
The free cash, you know,
Yeah.
the background for
Yeah.
that, okay,
And the logic about how we want to use it.
yep.
Because I've heard people talking about trying to use that money for fund a new position sort of thing.
Oh, sure, they're all
And
out.
one of those things I brought up and said, I can't speak for FinCom, but the fact that you have the money 1 year, if we
Doesn't
approve it,
justify a position.
if we
Exactly.
approve it,
Yeah.
then it becomes part of level of service for the next year.
Right.
And so I think
And the
we-
money may not be, is not there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What we are doing and what we are not doing with that money is probably worth some attention.
Mhm.
Good
Maybe
point.
that's your spotlight.
Well, no, because I think Spotlight, I think there's
Okay.
some other things we need to
Okay.
have a Spotlight.
I mean, I'm just saying that that's
Yeah.
an issue that
But
I've
I'll-
heard talked about.
Okay. Thanks for
The,
going through that.
the issue with that, Bruce, is that under section 17.4, the capital stabilization funding mechanism, where the town has a bylaw and how to deal with free cash, and what it is you're going to make sure that the stabilization account's at 5% of your prior year's omnibus budget, but then you need to fund, any remaining funds would go to capital stabilization investment fund at the end of each fiscal year, provided that there were no critical extenuating circumstances in the current year budget cycle that were unforeseen when the budget was voted that would materially affect the level of required services. So that is the criteria you have to meet. You can't just add a position to add a position.
It's against the bylaw.
That's correct.
Right.
Actually, now that you say that, I say I knew that, and it was never an active part of my brain.
No, and it isn't in most people's, they tend to forget it. However, since the dollar amount has been so large, there have been a number of people who I have heard and have talked to me, well, why can't we use it for this? And it's not, why can't we use it for that? It's, here is the bylaw
Right.
that says what we're going to do with it and where it's going to go. And outside of that, you do have the ability to put it elsewhere. However, it's got to meet that criteria.
Yeah.
And it should never be used for ongoing
Purposes.
purposes.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking very strongly that it should not be.
Yes.
And
Right, so the next meeting, the 13th, we'll wait to hear whether it's Park and Rec
Right.
or,
Monday, you should hear from me unless I hear from them over the weekend.
okay,
I do monitor my email over the weekend, and if I do, then I'll send something out saying they will be here.
okay.
If they are coming, it's 7:30 that night, so you can get through your part of the meeting to do the minutes, do any type of reports, so forth, so on, and then meet with the departments.
Okay. And Dawn will be running.
Did you say Board of
oh,
Selectmen?
I'm
Also
gonna
for-
be
for
doing
those-
those,
for those,
yes.
Got it.
Yep. And Dawn will be running that meeting, since I am out. And then we do not have a meeting on Saturday, the 16th. The following meeting would be the 20th, and again, it will be a flip-flop as to whether or not it's Park and Rec or Historical for that meeting. And I think then, at one of those two meetings, get the assigning of the book pieces
Mhm.
completed. So,
Yeah, because then we can just
Start working on
get to it, and once you give me the stuff for that, what was in there? The financial projection and recap worksheet, then I can start working on that.
all right. Excellent. I think we're done for today.
Cool, we adjourn.
Can we have a second? All in favor?
It is 10:58. 10:57 according to my phone.